Hey everybody, Mountain Grandma here. Today I'm going to share with you some of the books that I've been referencing the most as a beginning pressure canner. And they're the three you see here. And I'm also going to share with you the process that I followed for canning these kidney beans. These were pressure canned, and I'm so happy that I now know how to do that. This is all part of the Plan to Can collaboration being hosted by Jeni over at Jeni's Scratch Made Kitchen and the Miller Life Kitchen. There's going to be a giveaway March 3rd at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Down in the description box below are more details. Leave a comment, like and subscribe so you can be in the giveaway. Now let's go ahead and get started. So what you see here are three canning books that I've been using a lot. And these are actually like my main canning books that I've been referencing. And today I'm going to talk about which one I'm using the most, what's newest to me, and as a beginning pressure canner, which book I have found the most useful. So this book here, the all-new Ball Book of Canning and Preserving, I've used this the most and had this book the longest because there's all kinds of water bath canning recipes in here. And that is typically what I do or what I have done. And they also have fermenting recipes, still more that I want to try there. Information on freezing, dehydrating, curing, and smoking. And then they've got a kind of a small pressure canning section in this book. But it is a great book. It's got some great details that show you like the basics, you know, for canning. And this section's here all about water bath canning. So I marked this page so I could show you all great, you know, information on canning, jellies and jams and pickled goods, and then recipes too. So that's really cool. I thought I would share that. The newest one to me is this guy over here, the USDA Complete Guide to Home Canning 2020 print version. And let me show you the table of contents on this one. There's a huge section on principles of home canning. And let me kind of show this to you so you can see it better. Also guides selecting, preparing, and canning fruit and fruit products. Selecting, preparing, and canning tomatoes and tomato products. And you know, there's a lot of tomato products that you really have to pressure can. It's got a salsa section. I could totally appreciate that. We do love some salsa. And then selecting, preparing, and canning vegetables and vegetable products, poultry, red meats, and seafoods. And you can kind of see, I've even marked those sections here. The canning, the vegetables and vegetable products. And it goes through all kinds of vegetables from asparagus to succotash. And then on the preparing and canning poultry, red meats, and seafoods, which I have not tried yet. I might try that next. And it even includes, you know, some great things for homesteaders like rabbit and also clams. Go figure. I wouldn't think to can clams, oysters, smoked fish, and tuna. I mean, aside from your regular, you know, chicken and ground beef and maybe deer meat and stuff. So that's kind of cool. But this is my newest one. I haven't really done a lot with this book yet. And the other book I've been referencing is this one. And of all three of these, which one do you think right now I have used the most for my pressure canning journey? Guys, it's this one. Don't underestimate the power of the little book that comes with your canner. And even when I canned the beans this last time, I was in here reading all the steps again because, you know, as a new canner, pressure canner, I feel like I need those reminders. I'm still trying to kind of get the whole thing down, and I'm so worried about the pressure canning, I find myself even messing up a little bit on the basics and just having to really be cautious. So today's video, I followed this, the beans or peas. And I have a lot of beans that I want to get canned because, you know, whenever I want to use them, I want to be able to just open up a jar of beans like I would open up a can of beans, right? And use them. And so today I'm making kidney beans. And also, I don't often make like a huge pot of kidney beans and eat them like that. Does anybody? I mean, I don't know anybody that eats kidney beans like that. I add them to maybe a rice dish or maybe
you know, a soup or stew. I never eat a pot of kidney beans. I don't know anyone who does. So I thought that would be a great bean for me to go ahead and can, because I'm also, as far as canned good goes, running out of my kidney beans. So it's super easy. I'm going to share the video with you, and you'll see you just kind of soak your beans 12 to 8 hours like you usually would. And then after that, you rinse them, right? Drain them off, and you cover them again with water, fresh water, and you boil them for 30 minutes, and then you can salt them if you want to. I chose not to because that's my problem with canned foods from the stores. They all have too much salt. But then you just fill up your jars, you know, do the usual things, clean them off, make sure there's no air bubbles and whatnot, and process at 11 pounds for 75 minutes for me. That's what I did. I did pints. And I want to make a comment. If you saw my last video on canning broth, I feel like I have selected the perfect two things to can first for anybody going to pressure canning, because pressure canning the broth really gets you used to watching the gauge while you cook to make sure that that gauge is, you know, staying above 11 but not too high. And broth, you only have to, for my area, I only have to pressure can for 20 minutes. So then I jump to doing beans where I'm having to pressure can the beans for 75 minutes. So I feel like starting out with the broth was perfect. I want to mention that. And I'm trying to find my best path forward, you know, with going step by step. I'm not doing recipes for pressure canning right out of the gate because I want to make sure that I've got all of the basics down pat of using this guy, right? I just want to make sure I have that all down pat. And I will tell you, when I did the beans, oh my gosh, it's so much fun. I had fun. I learned something from my last video, which was I don't have to necessarily boil, you know, well, simmer my jars. Somebody shared a comment about you're not supposed to boil your jars, and it does say boil in this book here, but they mean a low boil. So, you know, in all fairness, you got to make sure that you know, don't just boil the heck out of them. But you don't have to do it at all with pressure canning. That's what's so fun. I've got to wash them, clean them, but they get sterilized during the canning process. And that was such a wonderful thing to hear. So anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here I've got a pound of kidney beans. I've let these soak overnight. What I'm going to do now is get them in a pot. I'm going to strain them off first and get them in a pot, cover them with water, and boil them for 30 minutes. So let's get that going. All right, we'll get these heated up to a nice simmer and get them cooking for 30 minutes.
And while I'm cooking those beans, I'm going to go ahead and add 3 quarts of water to my pressure canner and get my jars put in there so that those can start to heat up and be ready for me. And then I'm also going to, what you don't see me doing is check my lid, make sure that the vent pipe is clear and all of that good stuff so that I'm ready to roll.
All right, my timer has gone off. These have been simmering for 30 minutes. And I don't know if you can tell, but my jars are good and hot. The water in here is hot. So I'm going to get myself situated to be able to fill the jars and get them back in here, and I'll show you how I do that.
All right, so here you see me filling up the jars, and I'm not doing every one. I did them one at a time. I'd fill them up to the top, make sure that they were covered with some liquid because, you know, I feel like that's the right thing to do. You did need to have a 1-inch space at the top of these jars, making sure that I don't have any bubbles in there. And then you'll see me cleaning the top of the jar with vinegar. Got a little cup of vinegar there. So wiping that top down before I put that clean lid on there that's been washed in soapy water. And then I'm going to put my ring on and tighten that finger tight before I return it to the pressure canner.
All right, there's my 4 jars. I'm going to go ahead and get the lid on, and we're going to heat this up for 10 minutes until the vent pipe starts steaming. I'll be back with you. Not sure if you can see it, but we have a steady stream of steam coming out. All right, so right now I've got steam coming out. I have already set my timer to 10 minutes. I've got 7 minutes left. And the reason you do this is because you want to exhaust the air that's in the pot. So as soon as the timer goes off at 10 minutes, I'll go ahead and put the regulator on then. We've hit our 10 minutes. So putting my regulator on. Now we gotta wait for this guy to pop up. All right, we've got the vent cover locked, so that's good. See, that popped up there. That's what that means. And the next thing we're gonna wait for is this gauge to get to 11 pounds, and then we will set our timer.
All right, you can see our PSI on our gauge is at 11. So that means it's time to go ahead and set our timer. And I'm going to set the timer to 75 minutes. And over the time that this is going or heating for that 75 minutes, I'm just going to make sure I never go below 11 and I don't get too high.
All right, our 75 minutes is up. You can see here, I stayed above 11 the whole time. I did have to adjust the temperature on the stovetop fairly frequently. I had to babysit it, stand next to it. That's kind of what you got to do. So I just turned the heat off the stove, and now I'm just going to let it cool. You can see the vent cover has gone down, and then you can also see we're at 0 pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and take the regulator off. And I'm going to let it sit here for a little bit longer before I even crack the lid, because why not? It's good to have these cool off slowly. So for me, that's what I'm going to do next. All right, the next thing I'm doing is just kind of partially opening this pot. I want it to cool down as slow as possible. So we're just going to let it cool.
And here they are, pulling them out of the pot. You got to make sure you keep them completely vertical. Do not tilt them when you remove them from that pot. And I'm setting them here. I will not touch them. I will not clean the lids, even though I want to. I won't mess with them in any way for 24 hours. That's what you got to do. Don't touch them. Don't mess with them for 24 hours. And then here they are. I am so excited. I hope that you all are enjoying following me along on my pressure canning journey. I'm loving it. I like it better than water bath canning. That's no lie. I really do. And I can't wait to can the next thing. So thank you all so much. I hope that anybody who has not tried pressure canning, I hope this encourages you to do that. Remember, make sure to check out all the other videos. And until I see you next time, folks, keep your joy.